acknowledge the Nisenan, Miwok, Maidu, Washu, Konkau, and Paiute, who were the indigenous stewards of the sacred lands of Sierra County. We work to preserve and sustain these lands for the benefit of all people for 7 generations.
But let's dive into the California Creative Corps. What is it? It's an economic and workforce recovery pilot program intended to fuel positivity, regain public trust, and inspire health and safety across California's diverse populations. So California Arts Council would like us to focus on placing the artist in a position where we create awareness around water, energy, climate disaster, public awareness related to water and energy conservation, climate mitigation, emergency preparedness, relief and recovery, think fire. And then number 2, civic engagement, including election participation. 3, social justice and community engagement. And 4, public health awareness. Today we're going to be introducing a tool that you can use if you're thinking of applying for a grant. And it's called the California Healthy Places Index. And it's a way for us to consider the relative health of communities. The idea being that funds are steered towards communities that are suffering inequities in health outcomes. And within the Healthy Places Index, there's a correlation that is drawn between community health and racial justice and health equity. And I think by now we all understand, we've seen enough data to understand that there is a relationship between one's demographics and one's health in terms of communities. And we ask you just to pay attention to that element if you're applying for funding. So the darker the blue, according to the Healthy Places Index, the least healthy the communities. So we really want to focus on those blue areas.
Did you notice, though, that, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, not at
Those
all.
blue places, they're all places that have water problems with their agriculture.
Interesting,
If
interesting.
you look at Siskiyou County, I mean, they cut the water off and had big water wars, all those. And down south, they lost their water from Colorado. So all those places, they're all have, and San Joaquin Valley, that's bright blue in there.
You will see that some of these markers will resonate with you. So the Healthy Places Index looks at the economic picture of a community. It looks at education. It looks at social impacts, such as markers, such as the degree to which a population is participating in the census and feels safe to vote. If not, why not? Is it because they're undocumented? Does that mean that they don't experience life with a sense of autonomy or being heard? Does it mean that they don't feel safe to vote? Does it mean that they don't have access to healthcare? There are so many things, so many conclusions that you can draw from this. So we invite you to study and then combine your lived experience with what you find in this fascinating data that we're being presented with as a tool for measuring the economic health. I mean, the degree of healthy communities. It looks at transportation. It looks at neighborhood. Neighborhood looks at the degree to which a person has, for example, access to enjoyment of a park. We know that in rural California, where you may have a mass of public lands, but very little access to it, or you may be living in a city a half a mile from a park, but you're not safe, you don't feel safe going there because of homelessness. And again, that relates to housing. We know that there's an endemic housing crisis in most of California. So there's so much scale and relativity you can bring to this data.
It does not seem that the particulate matter that we've experienced in the last few summers during the fires has been considered in these statistics.
What we ask you to do is, in your application, draw attention to these anomalies. If you want to challenge this data, because you know that we have much more up-to-date information than the 2020 census.
Transportation, Golden Rays, Senior Citizens of Sierra County, has contract with Sierra County to run 2 vans. So we provide public transportation. And the Loyalton Senior Center has 2 vans over in Loyalton. So you can call and make appointments to be transported for medical appointments, shopping, or anything like that.
That sounds
So
like
I don't see that as a zero.
You see, on the other hand, that's also a wonderful challenge to you, Sandy, to consider whether, if you were to work with an artist to create awareness for the transportation issue, but at the same time providing a solution, maybe that's a project. You know, did you know you have access to transportation?
Last one I just want to highlight was about housing, because in so much of the upstate region, we've heard from so many people the difficulty of being able to stay and live, or have the next generation stay and live there, because of the cost to be there. So the low-income homeowner, severe housing cost burden. It's basically looking at the cost of housing and how that's impacting. So that had quite a low score as well.
The healthcare access on the western side is always teetering. I mean, we do have a clinic, but it's only open 4 days a week. And so the people are on call at night, you know, otherwise 24/7. And so there isn't a lot of healthcare access because there's not enough even people in Downieville to answer a call.
So what kind of project that involves an artist creating awareness for that might help? So every time I hear an issue, I think, okay, that could become a project. What would it look like if you attach an artist to that to create awareness? One of the reasons that we're with you is we're considering what kind of grant program to actually create. What do we take into account? Do we take into account the density of very dark blue area tracks, those that fall beneath the, within the lowest quartile of the Healthy Places Index? Do we take into account the county population, its geographic side, the degree to which its populations, tribal and ethnic populations, are healthy and thriving or not? And of course, the overall proposal strength will be important. The likely longevity of a project and the degree to which it might become an amazing gold standard case study for other communities or yourselves. Could it be repeatable later?
You encouraged Betty Jo to partner with an artist to promote and address the issue of lack of available EMTs, ambulance, emergency workers here. Partner with an artist. A film? Is that, and I'm
A documentary.
a documentary.
Absolutely. Or a comedy piece. I mean, anything where the message is coming through and creating awareness for an issue or an issue and a solution.
Like for us, we're very seasonal,
Yes.
right? We have 5 months of business. As a business owner, you knock the cover off the ball for 5 months, and for the other 7 months, it's famine. But that doesn't really translate anywhere on the census. Can we still take on a project that kind of like tries to address that or promote, say, winter activities?
But that's clearly connected to the economy, isn't it? That's an issue. I mean, it really is. It's an issue. Just the idea that 5 months out of the year you can depend upon a reliable sort of transactional, business window of opportunity, and for the rest of the time you can't. That's terrifying.
We had North Yuba River Day for the first time last year, and that was to raise awareness around an incredible opportunity here in Sierra County that's coming into being. And this is going to be 151,000 acres of fuel mitigation that they're going to do through the North Yuba Forest Partnership. And so it's just whether or not Katie O'Hara, the North Yuba River naturalist, and Vanessa Stevens from the San Francisco State Field Campus, we all have talked about raising community awareness around this project and what our future forest could look like.
we're talking about documenting the work of 9 agencies working together. That's really unusual on a forest management project that's going to help mitigate, the risk of catastrophic fire.
We can do a mural about forests, future forests, or we could do animal rescue. We can do a play. We could, oh, there's a fire in Downieville. Imagine a melodrama.
Can an entity like Musica Sierra apply for more than one project to be funded? Because we have a couple of parallel projects that have been happening. Yeah, what do you think?
I think one, yes. So really choose and focus on it. To what degree is my project attaching itself to the program goals of the California Creative Corps?
The Arts Council, we ourselves are not going to be applying for this funding, but we're here to help facilitate anybody who wants to put a project together.
Is there a cap per county on a project limit itself? Say, for example, Musica Sierra wants to apply for it.
Obviously, the smaller the grant categories, the less competitive they will be, and the more of them there will be to offer. We were thinking about, do we just divide it up per county? It would be at about about 170,000 per county. But then we actually probably will apply those kinds of weightings that we talked about. The degree to which health conditions, according to the Healthy Places Index, are showing that particular county is really suffering. Probably the grant sizes that we offer won't be much larger than, a couple of 100,000, which is pretty sizable. We will hold back some discretionary funds, I should think. And then the application period will run from the first week of February to close to the end of March. So we want to keep it open for a nice long period to give you the maximum amount of time to meet with Sierra County Arts Council to have, grant writing 101 workshops and some guidance. BJ has can apply so much scale and relativity in.
Does the artist for your proposed project or proposal need to also be within Sierra County? Is that a requirement, or is it just more favorable for your grant proposal?
For sure, I can tell you that they cannot come from other areas of California. They have to be in that yellow area, the upstate region, not from San Francisco. So we're going to want, upstate to keep within upstate, if you like.
Is there a specific requirement for an artist to be identified, or is it just anyone that says they're an artist?
No, we will ask for, hopefully the artist will have a website. They may or may not have gone to one of the best art schools there is. They may be a fabulous self-taught artist with incredible experience and some evidence that they have the capacity to create an awareness campaign around an issue critical to society.
I think we need to be really considering the impact whatever project that we decide we might like to try and support would have on our community. And for example, something to do with the forest and fires and all of that is of course of extreme importance in this age. And not only that, it affects counties and people outside of our county, because all that water down in the valley comes from us.
So for example, your mural project could actually be part of the other bigger thing with the 9, you know what I mean? So think really strategically.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, like the mural
Right.
could have all the 9 Yuba Forest partners could be part of that project. They
Right.
would also help fund it.
Yeah, and then is there another element of documenting that project through film, following those agencies through their work through the year, whatever it is, just remember, it's all about paying the artist. Make sure that you have an artist who is there with you. You're going to need within your application to attach your project to one or other of these program goals. So again, you don't need to answer it now, but be thinking that for yourself.
Just as an architectural historian, With the pictographs, you got to be careful because it's sensitive information. So if anything, I would say like some type of documentation similar to what like the WPA, they did documentation of buildings. We could have something similar to like a documentation of pictographs. Holly Lake over in the Buttes area has a huge archaeological site, and if there's a way that there can be a documentation of those, that would be ideal, not disclosing the actual site location.
California Arts Council wants every county to have at least one project. So Sierra County is going to come out with something, and it's just up to you to think, okay, what's it going to be? What can we all get behind?